13-1 in 2024, led by head coach Dan Lanning. Great season for them in kind of their inaugural Big Ten season. Good start, showing that they can hang in this more physical conference, which is not surprising. They recruit well enough to hang in a more physical conference. That Nike money goes a long, long way. But anyway, they go 13-1, but they do lose their quarterback, Dylan Gabriel, and they're replacing with a younger guy who transferred in from UCLA at the start of last season, Dante Moore, who in 9 games at UCLA had, or is that his? No, that's his stats at Oregon this past year.
No, that was at
That is at UCLA. In 9
freshman
games at
year.
UCLA freshman year, he had 1,600 yards, 11 touchdowns, 9 picks, 14 yards per completion. Not great, solid, but he's now in a much better situation. So thoughts on Dante Moore? I have heard Austin Novosad is pushing him a lot in fall ball and camp. I still think Dante Moore is going to start, but that's just a little tidbit for you, I guess. I know he's your guy, Sanders.
He is. He is my quarterback in our college keeper league, and I think I'm going to have to – I don't know his name off the top of my head. Oregon had a 4 or 5-star quarterback come in as an early enrollee in the winter.
He went to Cal.
Yes, and transferred out in like 2 weeks. And this was – I remember Josh Pate talking about this. This was a high-profile guy who comes in early as an enrollee to compete for the starting job and sees Dante Moore play football for 2 weeks and transfers out. And I think that's one of like the biggest signs of like how I think this is Dante Moore's job, and how I think that he could be really good in this offense is if you've got a guy dipping like that after a couple weeks. So I'm really excited to see him play. His play at UCLA was definitely not like impressive or blowing away for the profile recruit that he was, but he's 2 years older now. He's been in Dan Lanning's scheme for this is year 2, right? Year
Yes,
year
like
2.
his second year at Oregon. Yeah.
So he's going into his red shirt junior year. So he's older. This is your classic like he did it a little bit differently, but 10 years ago, guys rode the bench behind the starter and then took over. A lot less of this just transferring up from the lower levels. So Dante Moore I feel like that his story is similar to a mid-2010s quarterback as opposed to a 2024 quarterback where he found his place and then waited for his opportunity, and now his opportunity is here. I'm excited to see what he can do with it. I think he's got, unfortunately, with the injury to
Evan Stewart.
Thank you, Achilles or ACL?
Patellar. He ripped his patellar tendon.
Yeah, that was a really tough loss, but they bring in a 5-star true freshman, DeCorian Moore, who's the number 1 wide receiver in his class. They bring in Mekhi Hughes from Tulane, who was a very good running back there, 1,400 yards and 15 touchdowns. So I'm really excited to see what Dante Moore can do with these weapons and in Dan Lanning's offense that's now pumped out 2 Heisman finalists or 2 very good quarterbacks. I don't know if they're both Heisman finalists.
They were Heisman finalists.
Bo Nix and Dylan Gabriel have been 2 fantastic quarterbacks the past 2 years.
Yeah, it's interesting because those are huge shoes to fill. And he's not necessarily the exact same quarterback as them. They were your nice, pretty safe, made all the throws, accurate, didn't leave much on the table. But, I mean, Bo Nix had a pretty good arm. Dylan Gabriel's arm, was just kind of average in terms of talent and power. Dante Moore has a little more oomph in his arm than those guys. But big shoes to fill. Can he be that accurate? I mean, that's kind of what their offense has been predicated on is high completion percentage, guys getting open, intermediate throws, and then the running game. And I love Mekhi Hughes from Tulane, but I'm personally a little worried about their wide receiver weapons. DeCorian Moore is a true freshman. We have had a good run of success with true freshman wide receivers recently being great out of the gates, but that's not always the case.
Yeah.
I think losing Evan Stewart's pretty big. I think there's questions to be answered there to go with a new quarterback. Their offensive line should be pretty good. Isaiah World is transferring in from Nevada.
You didn't say Aggie legend. Isn't he an Aggie legend?
Who?
Evan Stewart?
He is. He's not an Aggie legend, though.
Oh. My bad.
It's very hard for me not to say Aggie legend about a guy. He's not an Aggie legend. Him getting hurt is tough, and I do wish him the best. I think the bread and butter of this team is going to be their defense. They bring in Dylan Thieneman from Purdue as a safety. He's fantastic. He's going to get drafted probably in the first round. He has 70 solo tackles last year and 7 passes defended. Actually took a drop last season in terms of grades because he had to play more like strong safety. He's a big single high free safety guy, and I think Dan Lanning will love that. Mateo Uyungale, edge rusher, projected top 60 pick, had 10.5 sacks last year. I think their defense is going to be the calling card of this team. at least initially as the offense kind of figures out how to get things going. Thoughts on that, JP?
I think Mateo is a good season away from being an end of first round pick.
Yep.
Because that is pass rushers are a premium and they are drafted very high. We've seen that in previous years. Defensively, they're going to rely on it a ton. Going back to the offense, I understand the concerns with weapons and everything. I think Dan Lanning's too good of a coach to allow this offense to be really poor.
I mean, it's not going to be
And
poor, but it's just been so good.
I understand, but to do that, I think he is not going to run the same offense he has done with Bo Nix and Gabriel, who are kind of game managers and are putting the football in the right spot at the right time. I think this is going to become a ground and pound kind of offense with explosive plays over the top. And that is what Dante is going to be really productive with, I think, which is why I feel like Oregon makes the Big Ten title game again. Dante, 14 yards per completion last year. Or not last year, but at UCLA in his freshman year. For context, Will Howard threw for 12.5 yards per completion last year for Ohio State. So that's above that with the UCLA level of talent. And that was as a true freshman as well. He's now in his redshirt sophomore season. I like Mekhi Hughes a ton, but I think this is going to be an offense that's going to run the ball a ton, a lot of read option, and then they're going to go for explosive plays over the top. And DeCorian Moore, the true freshman, is a speed threat. He is really, really fast. So I think he's got a chance to put up plays like a la Ryan Williams last year.
He's going to have every opportunity for sure.
Exactly, with the explosive plays over the top. I think they lose one game this season, and that's at Penn State in the whiteout. I just don't see a way where Dante Moore pulls off that win. The only way I see them winning that game is if Penn State loses that game. But I don't expect that from Penn State. Every other game on the schedule is they're going to win. They're going to go 11-1 this year. And I think they're in that Big Ten title game. I'm really interested to see how Dante blossoms and see if he can live up to the recruiting profile that he once was.
Sure. And, I mean, even if the offense starts slow, like I'm afraid they might, they have a pretty easy first 4 weeks, all things considered. Now, Penn State is their first true test, and the whiteout game is a night game. Which has not necessarily been the case. You know, these big profile games for Penn State have been the big noon game, but they actually get a whiteout game against a great team at night, so that'll be a ton of fun, and it'll be a really tough first test for Dante Moore. But the over-under's at 10.5. JP, we already know you're taking the over. You have them going 11-1.
I also got it. While you think I've got to take the over, I've got them going. I was thinking the exact same thing. The only game I see them losing on this schedule is at Penn State. And to answer Tucker's question, we can talk about this, or you want to give you let's. So he asked if we see Oregon as on the same level as Penn State and Ohio State, where we pencil in for double-digit wins every year without much thought. I think so. They've now gotten to double-digit wins the last 2 seasons, going 12-0 in the regular season last year. Their recruiting has been first in the Big Ten, second in the Big Ten the last 2 years, first the highest-rated Big Ten transfer portal this year. I don't think Dan Lanning is slowing down. I think that they are very much penciled in for 10 wins at this point, unless they get some horrific draw of a Big Ten schedule where they draw like an Ohio State, Oregon, and Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan in 1 year. I've got them going double-digit wins every year.
Yeah, I'll take the over here, even with my concerns. I think the defense is going to be that good that even if the offense sputters a little bit, which they may not, like y'all are talking about, I'll take the over and have them get to 11 wins.